Anode Method Mac. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental wellness. And in the conversation on mental wellness, I want to talk about recognizing that you are always exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think that this is such an important conversation. It plays such a significant role on our sense of well-being if we're thinking that we're behind. I mean, no one has an issue if they think that they're ahead in life. I think if that's how you feel about life, I'm so happy for you. But a lot of us think that we're behind in life for several different reasons. It could be because of the academic choices you made, like maybe at the time you thought the choices that you made around your academics was the right choice. Maybe it's that you didn't choose to do post-secondary. Maybe you did, but it wasn't the right degree. I mean, there are so many different ways and reasons why we feel like we're behind. And this is especially the case. So I'm type A, so I'm someone who really takes a lot of pride and ownership in managing my time in alignment with what I want in life. So I'm also pretty good at like establishing timelines where I can actually have things materialize. So if it is the case that I had like the vision of having my master's degree, I had a timeline in place for when I was going to choose my master's, I had a timeline in place for when I was going to prepare, I had a timeline in place for like how long it was going to take me, and then my job hunt, and then how life was supposed to translate after that. And it's interesting because more or less when you're that meticulous about the way that you plan, you really do cultivate this sense that you can control like your life, and you can control how things take place and what things manifest. And I think that that sense of control can be what really debilitates you when life takes a turn and you realize you really don't have control at all. I mean, it can be great when things align and when your desires in life align with how life and how things are translating, but I think that after a certain point you need to recognize that in all that you will experience in life, there's never going to be a moment in life where you're not exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think that that can bring so much peace and so much calm when it could be our own thoughts and our own anxiety and our own worries that can bring about a lot of chaos. And so I think about a lot of the decisions that I made in my 20s that made me so ahead of the game in my 20s. And I feel like my 30s is me paying for being so ahead of the game. In my 30s, I feel like all of the things that I really did prioritize and put my time and attention into in my 20s, which was really academics and career, I did that to have a super stable cookie cutter 30s experience. And so for me, my 30s experience was like get married, have kids, and then have that routine, like have the routine around, raising children, career goals, and like maybe doing my side business as well. And so I had this vision of how that was going to translate. I had a vision of how like it would translate, like what city I would be in. I knew what neighborhood I wanted to buy my home in. I mean, it was very, very clearly laid out. And I feel like as soon as I hit my 30s, I felt like I was dialing back. Like I felt like all of the progress that I made in my 20s, it made me ahead of all of my peers who were also in their 20s, who made me kind of on the same wavelength as those who are on their 30s. All of that got stripped away. And so a lot of that, if not the most of that, is really beyond my control. I mean, if I had control, I wouldn't have ever let that happen, but of course I didn't. And I think that what it brings to the table is now this discussion on a false sense of control and how it can really be debilitating and keep you from recognizing all the things that you can do and all the things that you can maximize in this moment, because every moment counts. And so I think a little bit about my mindset shift around control and around locus of control. And so locus of control is recognizing the limits of your control, like limits of what it is that you can control, which is like your reactions, your behaviors, and the ways that you show up, the way you position yourselves in the settings that you're in, and things that are beyond your control, which are the results, the outcomes, and the things that you're hoping will take place as a result of that, the cause and effect, right? And so I think I have control over the cause, no control over the effect. But when you're used to having an effect that aligns with a specific action, then it can be really hard. And I think a lesson that you're learning over and over again, when you put your energy in a specific trajectory and you're not getting the outcomes that you're looking for, and you feel like life is really penalizing you for your effort and for your consistency and for the dedication and the discipline that you put forward. And so you start to kind of scale back, right? You want to think about, well, okay, like how do I show up now so that I can get the results that I want? But I think the mindset shift is how do I show up regardless of what results might be as a byproduct of this. So I think that's the shift I'm taking, that I'm dealing with right now. And it's really about recognizing that my actions need to be generating from a place of alignment. I need to feel compelled to act in a certain way, not because I want a specific extrinsic reward, but because it feels good to behave in a specific way. And that's really a huge shift. I think a lot of us, like, it's a bit of a mind twister, because not all of us have been sort of educated in a way where we're doing things because because they align with our highest selves, because it feels good to do them. Because whether or not, the world responds in a way that validates us, it's the thing that we want to put our energy into. And I think when you're thinking about purpose, and for me, I've always been very much about living a purpose-driven life, and I always thought, like, in my 20s, if I cover the fundamentals, then it gives me right to a purpose-driven life. And you realize that, like, no, that's not necessarily the case, right? It's not the case that your actions are going to guarantee you a specific outcome. And I think that this idea of meritocracy, of like you earn the life that your energy and your time and your attention kind of puts you on a path towards, that's not true. And I think for some people, if they do all the right things and it's not necessarily from a place of purpose and alignment, they can have, from the outside looking in, what seems to be the perfect picture, but then they're miserable because, they didn't generate from a place of alignment. But when we're looking for alignment, then I think what life is trying to teach you through the experiences that challenge you, because you find that your actions and your energy is not really giving you the result that you want, and you're used to working with this equation that actions and energy translate as a specific result. It's teaching you that you do it anyway because it's alignment for you, right? So you do it regardless of how things turn out, because that's what feels good for you. So you start to really bank on the intrinsic reward factor, right? So you do it because it's intrinsically rewarding. But then outside of that, you need to think about, well, there's still like this sense of disappointment, defeat, discouragement that comes when you find that your energy, your effort, and your works are just not being recognized that it's supposed to be. And I think that that's a very human experience. But I think that it also teaches us to not be so attached with recognition, so attached with external validation. I think that those are things that we can start to build the muscle in cultivating for ourselves, that we can give ourselves kudos for the energy, for the time, for the quality of the work that we've delivered. We don't necessarily need that validation externally. And I think that when it really comes to success and how that success will shape you once you do attain it, I think part of how you can manage it is understanding the limits of external validation, like not letting yourself become a slave to it, not letting it be something that dictates like whether you have a good day or a bad day. I think that part of what life shows us through the hardships, through the challenges, through the difficulties that we face, and even some of the friction points that we are dealing with, is that your energy, your time, your attention really does need to be aligned with what rewards you intrinsically. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing smoke, right? You're chasing something that is just so fleeting, so flawed, and so unreliable. And so that's what I'm starting to think. Like, I think to myself, well, I'm not where I expected to be in my 30s for all of the dedication, sacrifices, and commitments that I made in all of the right areas in my 20s. But I need to think of that as a good thing, because I'm learning lessons that I wouldn't have learned if things went smoothly, if things went the way I wanted to. And I think about, well, the lessons that I've learned and how they are shaping me, even right now, shaping my character, shaping my mindset, shaping the way that I see people, places, and situations. And I think that, well, I'm happy for those lessons, and I'm happy for that hindsight. And I'm also happy for the way that it's enabling me to build my path moving forward, because I'm a path blazer. I'm someone who wants to create my own path. I'm not someone who wants to follow a path that someone else has put to place for me, right? And I'm also someone who really does value independence so much. And when you are independent and you're maximizing the independence and putting your energy into things that matter to you, then you really want to feel as though that is something that the universe rewards. But sometimes that reward just comes in a different shape, different than what we expect. And I think that just because it's different from what you expect does not mean that you're behind. It means that there's lessons here that are probably not the kind that society enables us to really be receptive to. Like, it takes a lot of reflection, introspection, a lot of time thinking about the things that we value, the things that we believe in, and how that has helped us and hurt us. I think that that's what hardship does. It helps us really do take a deep look on the inside and think about, well, like, what is hindering me that I can control, right? Because I cannot control the things that are hindering me outside of me. I can't control those intentions, motivations, and actions, but I can control what internally is hindering me from pushing forward. And that's a tough conversation to have. It's not a one-time conversation. It's a conversation that you're going to have with yourself repeatedly, but it's the conversation that you need to have so that you can always remain grounded in the fact that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and your choices every day will serve you or not. And still, even if you do have a day where you're not making choices that serve you in the best way possible, if your focus is on alignment and on getting back to alignment, you're not going to let yourself fall too far off kilter, right? And so I think that give yourself grace, give yourself compassion, especially when it is the case that you are really mindful with your time, you're really intentional about where you put your energy. And if you don't feel like that's translating the way that you want it to, is because it's translating in the way that it's supposed to. And I think remembering that want and that what we think ought to be the case is very different from the realities that a lot of us experience. Circumstance is not something that any of us had any say in, right? Like a lot of our circumstances, when we think about even the energy that we put in, someone could have put in equivalent energy and not gotten the same outcome, right? A lot of what happens outside of us is beyond our control, but it's easy to think that it is within our control. It's easy to give ourselves kudos and credit for what we do not have kudos or credit, or for what is beyond our realm of merit. And so I wanted to have that conversation today because I think that a lot of us are struggling with this idea of feeling behind. I know I myself struggle sometimes with this idea of feeling behind, but what I do to recalibrate that sense is I really do have this conversation with myself around being exactly where I'm supposed to be, learning the lessons that I need to learn to be exactly where I'm going to be in the future. And I thought that maybe this might be motivating and encouraging if I had this conversation out loud with you. So that's the conversation that I have for today. Some food for thought for you. If I've piqued your interest, we do host live events at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our website. So definitely be sure to check that out. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, and I do suggest you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery over and above these events. So check it out, be part of our game changer community, be part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so do invite you to follow us. Every follow really does help. It's encouragement in and of itself. Definitely leave a like, share this video, check out our website. We do also have workshops for children. We do have parent-child workshops that are focused on cultivating that leadership quotient built on core 4 fundamentals: building self-concept, autonomy, self-efficacy, and compassion as the pillars of leadership quotient, because we all have the ability to lead within the realm that aligns to our path. Thank you so much again, and I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.